Welcome to the Wisconsin State High School Curling Championships from the Wausau Curling Club. With Allie Cotton, I'm George Hirsch, and we are going to pick up action of the girls competition, Wausau East and Poynette 2, or Poynette Junior Varsity Squad. East comes in 1-1 in their round robin bracket. They're in the same bracket as Appleton West and Portage. Portage has already won the bracket with a 3-0 record, undefeated 3-0 record. Poynette comes in, 2 comes in at 0-2, and we are just finishing up end number 3. As you can see, a lot of stones in the house, and I think we're right down to the skip.
Yep, it looks
last shot,
like
Allie.
This is, nope, it looks like the Poynette 2's thirds, or skip's first rock. So East will have 2 stones left after this one. It's interesting, East actually shot Poynette 2's shot rock into the house for them on their last shot. And that's a good guard for Poynette 2.
Okay, the East squad is first Tessa Olson, second Catherine O'Keefe, third vice skip Mackenzie Ocon, and Brooke Krafsky is the skip for the Lumberjack girls. For Poynette, the first is Rosalind Plenty, second Morgan Jones, third Abby Gray, and the fourth Kristen Doherty. Would help if I could read my own writing. Okay, well, you just finished up in an exciting game not too long ago that went down to the last stone, and it would have meant moving on. How do you feel about that?
I am so happy with how my team played. We came and we curled phenomenally. I couldn't have imagined a better last high school game. We didn't take the win in the end, but it came to the last rock. We had a good comeback, and I was really proud with how we handled ourselves and how we curled.
And Allie, speaking for the DC Everest girls curling team. Allie's a junior, and
I'm a senior.
You're a senior.
Yeah.
What did it? Okay, I got it. I got to take a peek here.
So it was a good last game. I was proud
That's
with
right. You said last. That makes sense. Yeah. Well, and it was a game that you had to come back down 3 early.
Yep.
And did it, but it is what it is, and that's curling. I mean, when it's done, you watch these teams come off the ice. Sometimes the clap for the team that didn't win is as loud from the parents and friends as the winner.
It was a good last showing. We were on our home ice. We had come back, tied it up in the 8th. We just didn't have the hammer, and sometimes that's all you can do. We had set ourselves up, and they made their shots, and they had a great game.
And sometimes you give credit to the other team because
they curled well.
They do what they need to do. Okay, we're looking at the situation right now here.
Okay.
Skips.
East was trying to draw through that port up front, if you look, and they fell short. That actually is going to hurt them later on because they plugged it up. But there's still a port open on the right side. So right now, Poynette 2 is going to try and plug it up in the control zone so that they cannot get to that button. Also, East is a really good draw team. They have had strong draws all year. I've definitely seen their skip lay in a couple button shots on us in the, So it'll be interesting to see what they do if Poynette gets this guard.
Well, East, West, Everest, Mosinee all practice here at the Wausau Curling Club. So they get to know each other pretty well.
Yep, we play each other at least twice a year. We practice together every single day. We all curl together outside of it. We'll do bonspiels where it's like half Everest, half East or West, you know.
Sure.
We travel. We get to know each other really well. It's a lot of fun. We have a great curling environment and community.
Well, people that are in curling will say, you know, it's a social event too. I mean, it's a social activity. Well, okay.
And that ended up being really great for Poynette 2. It went a little deeper than they had wanted, but it covers.
Now, right now, Poynette is laying 1.
Correct.
Okay.
They have the closest in the 4-foot. It looks like they're almost completely in the 4-foot right now. And Wausau East is sitting 1 halfway into the 4-foot, which is still a pretty good shot. I'm not sure there's anything they can do right now. They might try a raise take, but it will jam on that back rock. So they're probably going to let Poynette 2 steal 1 this end and keep the hammer.
Yeah.
It's still early, though.
Yeah, and that's part, and I'm glad you mentioned that. It's still early. Otherwise, you'd say, okay, we've got all these rocks or stones down there. Let's have some fun.
Yeah,
you know?
It definitely.
But it could hurt them big time.
Yeah.
Could be.
They definitely do not want to throw. If I were them, I would hog it and move on. That happened to them with the shot. They actually shot Poynette stone into the 4-foot, which took shot rocks. So if I were them, I would just hog the stone and move on. Stealing 1 is not the end of the world for the hammer.
No, and it's early, as you said.
Yep, it can change a lot by the end of this game. But they're thinking, it looks like they are going to try and draw in from the outside wing. They have the broom out close to the middle of the 12-foot, which looks like it should be pretty good, but the edge will hang or fall a little bit, so they'll have to watch their sweeping.
Well, they took some time to make that decision.
Yep, there's not a lot of options right there. They might be trying to come in hot and push theirs in from the side, but I think they might let 1 go here. It'd be a tough shot.
We're gonna find out right now.
Yep. And it looks like Brooke's line is a little wide, but they're gonna try and sweep it anyways. Her weight looks great though. And she's gonna peel on her own guard.
Okay.
So that's the end. Poynette 2 stole 1, or took 1 in the 3rd.
And now after 3 it is?
It is 3-2, Poynette 2.
Yeah, came in 2-2 before that end. Okay.
That's not awful. Curling's all about getting 1 or 2 points. Usually the team with the hammer will score 1 or 2 points. That's pretty much normal, but getting a steal is super awesome for Poynette 2. Sometimes that can catch momentum, get the other team off their game in their heads a little bit. Curling's a great mental game. If you're not in it in your head, you're done.
Well, right now, this is the 3rd and final contest or match for both of these teams, as the girls' side, the 4 semifinalists are already set.
Yep.
The boys, as you look at this ice rink with these 8 sheets out here, and most of them are active right now, the boys are up for grabs totally.
I don't think they have a single one clenched in yet. They had a lot of bracket busters yesterday. I think almost every single top seed lost to a lower seed, which doesn't usually happen.
No, and then there's a last shot draw. We watched one here on 7 before this, a last shot draw.
Yep.
And,
so when the brackets turn, if you in your pool play, there's numerous teams with the records of 2-0 or 2-1. It goes to what we call a last shot draw contest in curling, where every single member of the team will be throwing a draw. They'll have a skip at the other end holding line, and they'll have their 2 sweepers. And they're trying to get it as close to the button as they can, and then it's measured. So the team with the lowest score will get the spot in the semifinals. So if they fall short, it's 73 inches. If they throw through, it's 72 inches, and then vice versa. It gets measured from the middle.
Well, the one we watched, Wes got a 73 out of it.
That is a great score.
And which is really great. But there's another team on the ice yet that can get that 2-1 So they, they have to wait.
Yep. So they can feel pretty good about their score of a 73 because if only one person throws short, they're already done. It's every single team member's score combined. So
Okay.
they got to feel good about keeping it in.
Now we're back here on the sheet 7 with the competition. Wausau East against Poynette 2. And East has the hammer after Poynette picked up 1.
And Poynette is trying to sweep this in with everything they have right now, but it will be an okay guard. They have one sitting up on the center line in the front house, and East is going to try and draw behind it. So they're going to try and sneak in and curl around on the side.
Okay, the lead for Poynette, Rosalind Plenty. And those are her 2 stones, the rocks out there. Tessa Olson is the lead, or first, for Wausau East. And she is ready for her second shot. The release.
And it looks like she came a little wide and heavy, but it will slow down on that outside edge. So they're going to hope that it's going to slow down and stick in the house.
Well, Catherine and Mackenzie next to her. Yeah.
They're debating, and it looks like they will not outcount that first one, but it is a great second count shot.
Okay.
And Poynette 2 is taking it out. They do not want that there.
That was an easy decision.
Yep.
It's
pretty easy. If you take their stones out, you can't score with them. And it looks like she came a little wide with her release, and it's going to hang out on that edge.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be able to curl back in. I might be wrong.
She's going to get a tick, and their skip is going to sweep it behind the tee line.
Okay.
You cannot sweep the other opponent's stones until after the tee line, and you can only have one sweeper.
Okay. Now we go back. If you watch the board on the monitor of the screen, you can follow who's doing what in terms of
Yep, and it looks like
shots.
Brooke called the takeout for their second, which is pretty normal. Second's primary job is to throw takeouts. I bet she can see about half of the stone behind that guard.
And Catherine O'Keefe is
and
the second.
She shot a little narrow, but it's okay because they're lined up for the double. It looks like it has enough weight to move something. Except for...
Oh, it's not. It's going to go right through.
It's gonna blaze.
Yeah.
They really needed to sweep on that if they wanted to hit it.
Yeah. Yeah, the sweep does a couple of things. What are they?
Yep, so when you're sweeping, it's a big misconception that it makes the stone go faster. It actually doesn't. What it does is holds the line. When we're in curling, you put the broom out to the side as a target, and then you expect it to curl in. So if someone has shot narrow or a little in from where you want it, you're going to sweep it to try and hang that stone out. It can also keep it going longer because you're breaking down the pebble under the ice. So that's where the misconception of faster goes. So
it's not speed, it's distance.
It's distance. You can also oversweep just as easily. That can be a big issue. And now Brooke's going to try and sweep that draw as far back as she can. That's actually going to be okay for Wausau East. They're going to use it as backing, and they're going to try and freeze to it right now.
Okay.
It's always nice to have backing. You can come a little hot or heavy, and you're still going to sit, most likely, if you're online.
Well, they've got them lined up right now, and second shot for Catherine O'Keefe.
It looks like it's coming down pretty heavy, but the line looks like she will get a piece of it at least.
East right now are trying to get to 2-1 in their bracket, so they're not going to move on. You know, every team is guaranteed at least 3 games or matches, but they would like to finish up on the plus side, obviously.
I would guess, I know they have a couple seniors out there that they are going to want to just take home that win for their seniors. And Poynette is calling that takeout. It's wide open in the control zone, so they should have pretty good odds on this one.
This is Abby Gray, their third, or vice skip.
And it looks like her line is a little wide. They look like they really want to sweep it. I know it's hard to get that self-control, and if you look, it will roll out. So their skip was probably calling them off on the sweep in hopes of it curling in to get more contact with that stone.
Okay, we have a correction here in the lineup for Wausau East, just handed to me. I took the script off the program. So Catherine O'Keefe has moved to the lead, or number 1 for East. Bella Greiser is second. So we're going to make that change right now. Bella Greiser is second. Greiser. The vice skip is Mackenzie O'Connor, that's correct, and Brooke is correct. So the change is Tessa Olsen has been replaced by the alternate Bella Greiser, and she is the second. So first is Catherine O'Keefe.
And we have a change up in the lineup for Poynette too as well.
Yeah, it's you know, it's so hard sometimes to get those lineups because the coaches are busy, obviously.
The coaches might be shifting people around right now. So both of these teams are not eligible to qualify for semifinals. So right now, I would guess they are trying to give everyone playtime on this ice and in the state tournament.
It's a good point, Alec. Very good point. So now for Poynette, second is Abby Gray. And third is Morgan Jones. So they just switched.
Yep, sometimes
they just switched.
Coaches will change lineups because seconds you are going to be throwing primarily more takeouts, and thirds will have some of those harder draws. And it looks like Mackenzie for East, her first shot was a draw behind and she fell a little short, and Poynette 2 went ahead and took it out.
Okay, we're going to repeat those changes because we'd like to get the names up if possible on the screen. It's part of the graphics. So again, for Poynette, there's a change. Abby Gray is second. Morgan Jones is third. That's the only change for Poynette. For Wausau East, Catherine O'Keefe moves to the lead. Bella Greiser is second. And then the other two are, as indicated, Mackenzie O'Connor and Brooke.
That was a little too heavy on Mackenzie's shot. She had great line, but she just came a little hot, and maybe they overslept it just a tad. She was trying to sneak behind that yellow in the 8-foot.
Okay, we're getting down to the skips being involved.
Yep, so Poynette is chatting about what to do. If I were them, I would just come, draw the button. You have backing if you're heavy. Worst comes to worst, you take it out. But they might be considering taking that red. That would set up a large end for them.
Kristen Doherty is their skip. And East has a hammer right now, so we're taking a look at East in red, Poynette in yellow.
Yep, East is in good position to score this end. Overall, the front is open. There's that one guard up on the center line, but they have the wings open. And at this point, depending on what Poynette 2 does, they just have to be full or white to score.
Okay. This is an interesting situation. You've got 8 sheets. Sometimes there are 8 games going on at once. Of course, it makes sense to have 8 sheets because if you have 16 teams, then you open your tournament with a full ice.
So that
8 different games and or matches, okay. And now they're, you know, some are because we're getting into the semifinals or starting times change a little bit. Sometimes the coaches can decide with their team, yeah, we'll go a little earlier than the posted time on the board.
We definitely, if a team shakes or gets done, they'll definitely flip the sheet as soon as they can, try and get people in and out as soon as they can. I know we did that yesterday. We had teams shake at the 5th, and we were able to go out earlier and stuff like that. And it looks like Poynette drew into the 1 foot. They have a little bit of the 1 foot. East is looking at the takeout right now, which is what? It's wide open, so I think that's a good call.
Yeah, you can see the placement in the strategy.
Yep.
Pretty clear. So, Brooke Grafsky, see what she can do.
She didn't give a lot of ice for that takeout. I think she's expecting it to hang pretty straight, so she just has to make sure she comes with enough weight.
Slider on.
She's got to take a deep breath and focus on her line. That's all you can do during these takes.
Yeah.
She's
well, the athletes and Allie, the athletes in any sport where they get set to do something, they try to have the very same thing. Like tennis players. You watch good tennis players.
Yep.
That ball bounces the same distance from the same angle. Same thing in curling. They try to have the same.
And it looks like she came out with good line. They're going to sweep it to try and hold it out.
It's going to be close.
They need it to curl a little bit. It's curling the right distance, but it might not be heavy enough. She cleared her first guard, but will wreck on the second. Now, that's not awesome for them, but it definitely still has options. It looks like Poynette's thinking about taking that red in the 8 foot, setting up a big end, but it does leave a wide open take on either side to hit and roll in.
Okay, this is the final one now for Poynette for Kristen Doherty.
I'm not sure they see that clear hit on the left side. They are a JV team, so they might not be looking at that. But if they don't guard it, it would be an easy hit and roll in for one. Granted, East makes that shot, but yeah.
There's always an if.
Yeah, in curling, you never know.
Always an if.
But strategy-wise, they're debating right now. It sounds like they're gonna go for the hit, and they're giving a good amount of room for that outside edge. I think they're worried about it falling or hanging out there. From what we saw, anytime you're outside of that black line of the control zone, it would hang just a little bit. So they are hoping that doesn't happen to them right now.
Yeah, she's still, the skip, Kristen Doherty, is still talking to her teammates. I think she's telling them what the decision was made, what they're going to do.
It's really important to have that communication between your front end and your back end, especially on these crucial shots. A lot of the times if I'm sweeping or telling my sweepers, I'm going to be like, I need it to end right here. This is the line it needs to not cross, etc. And that looks like it's going to fall short. So that works out fine for them. They're going to end up guarding a little bit of the right side, which is shot rock right now. So right now, East is going to try and take a hit on the second count and roll into the button. It's wide open, but the roll will be hard.
Okay, Brooke coming down. She'll meet with Mackenzie. Now she sets up.
She's just explaining to her teammates what she needs to do and where they need to sweep. It's almost more important that the sweepers know where that stone's supposed to end than anyone else, because they are the ones that will get it there. It is in their control once she releases it.
And she does. Well, this is it for end number.
They're sweeping hard. They need it to curl a little bit to try and get that chip in, but it looks like
It's going to be close. I don't know what's going to happen to that one, though.
She got it. She got just the right chip.
Yeah.
That was a great end for East.
Yeah. Nice shot.
They definitely needed that for their morale and to not let them steal two on the Poynette side.
So fourth end now, we're even.
Yep.
3-3.
It's just like starting over, so sometimes that's a refreshing feeling being out there.
Nice job from Brooke.
That was a great shot. Those can be a lot of pressure.
Wausau East girls coming into this their final match, 1-1. Poynette 2, 0-2. Neither team will be in the semifinals because Portage won all three.
Yes, Portage is coming in hot. They won TG this Bonspiel earlier in the year, and they have always had a strong legacy of having great curlers in Portage.
Well, the TG event, which is the largest continuous in the nation, actually, 64 teams. Dennis TG was a teacher at West who was a curling coach forever. And that's a kind of prestigious state event to win if you're a high school curling team.
Yep, we always say if you want to do well at state, you need to do well at TG. It's definitely a time for your team to like break out and be like, we're here to fight, or we should be a team we probably shouldn't worry about. And first Wausau East guard went to the far wing, and Poynette 2 is going to try and draw to the wing behind.
Okay, and that's Catherine O'Keefe now is the lead.
Correct.
For East.
Mackenzie just hung the score, and it's like starting all over. 4 ends to go.
And for Poynette, this is Rosalind Plenty.
So if they were trying to get around that guard, she came very wide. I didn't see the final call, but it looks like they're sweeping pretty hard to get it on.
I think that'll reach.
And they
the 12.
will bite the 12-foot.
Yep. I think we have our names set now.
Yeah.
We apologize. You know, sometimes it's difficult to find the help you need to verify changes, and that was the case this time for us.
And Brooke is calling the draw behind.
Okay, this is Catherine O'Keefe. Brooke, we're talking about. Krapsky is their skip. That's what she's looking for right now as O'Keefe releases.
Yep, and it looks like her initial plan for this end was to play it outside in, as you saw her throw. Her first call was a draw to the wings, but right now, with Poynette putting that guard up on the center, or near the center, they're having to play towards the 4-foot. And that fell short and curled over too much.
The last match that we did, earlier in the day, almost every end, the house was clear until the 7th or 8th stone.
Yep, we were playing a pretty strong takeout game in that end, which is not as common when you watch girls' games. You usually see boys tend to play more of a take game, and then so the idea behind that is if you take it out, they can't score. And we had to play that. Both sides were kind of forcing each other into that, and it usually was whoever missed their takeout didn't score that end.
It's like a give and take.
Yep, so hence why it was so close. We were playing hard steal games that game for sure. Every stone in play mattered. And right now it looks like they're playing more traditionally of what you would see from a high school girls team, more draws and more guards. Um, that's the comfortable strategy. That's where you want to be. You don't want to have to be laying down takeout after takeout like we were earlier. And they're trying to raise that front red one in.
Okay, this is
They're going to make some contact with it, but it's just going to split, and they're going to try and sweep the roll. And with that, they took count.
Bella Greiser is the second now for East. That was her first
And
toss. Poynette has the hammer now.
Poynette has the hammer, so Wausau East is trying to steal, and it looks like they're still going to call the come around draw behind. I don't think Poynette 2 is that worried about that front red one that has count right now.
This is Allie Gray, their second.
It's super high in the house, easy outside on the edge. They're trying to get to the middle and try and take first count. It looks like they might get a raise though. So they're going to sweep hard to try and push it in, and they did not.
This is setting up to be a little bit different, but we're early. I mean, we're still with the second. So this is the, out of the rocks, this is the fourth.
Yep, and they are definitely calling a draw behind game right now. Both sides seem to have similar strategy with that. You won't see them call the crazy takeouts like you were seeing earlier. That was a lot of new curlers or less experienced curlers will be more apprehensive to call those. And she is going to get around the guards, but it's going to be too heavy.
Yeah, that was no doubt coming in. As soon as you got into the house, you could tell.
And I mean, that can be really difficult. Sometimes you need to sweep it for line to try and get around those guards, but if it's too hot and heavy and you keep sweeping it, it will go straight through. So she almost had to give more ice to let that curl in. And we're trying the draw behind again.
And this is Abby Gray.
It's really right now, with the way they're playing it, going to be a matter of who can make the draw here. And she's going to peel, and that's close, but I think Poynette 2 just took count. And they blocked off that side edge. It looks like East is still calling the draw behind on that side. They're just going further out, but they're going to have more trouble with that yellow sitting on the edge of the control zone or the black line.
This is Mackenzie Olken.
She's lining it up with Brooks Broom.
Sometimes you see the counterclockwise curl, sometimes a clockwise, depending upon their goal.
Yep,
purpose.
So they are curling outside in right now. And
well,
she peeled on the guard. That is okay for East right now. They still have second count, but they would like to put themselves in a position that they can steal.
Morgan Jones now for Poynette.
I don't think they would feel like it's the end of the world if they got out of this end with Poynette 2 just taking one.
And Poynette with a hammer, it's not a given, but it is a pretty good sized advantage.
It's
last.
The huge advantage. We saw it with our game earlier. They had the hammer and they won.
Yep.
And let's see, it looks like they are trying to raise a stone in. This is coming at a takeout speed, but they do have a lot of rocks they can hit. So that should take some momentum off.
Well, they did it.
And that didn't really change much. It actually kind of left it more open for East, but didn't change much.
So now Poynette has the lie, one.
Yep, East is going to try and it looks like they're calling the double take out there. They're going to try and hit that front rock that we see the broom next to, and it's lined up so that if you come with enough weight, it will split the one behind it out as well.
So it could be significant if it happens.
This could be a big shot, and they're not sweeping it right now. They are hoping it comes in a little bit, and now they're going to go hard. I think they should have been sweeping the whole time.
Yeah.
As soon as she released it.
Although, you know what?
But
well, yeah, okay.
it did open things up down the middle. Now if you look at the screen, there's an open port in the control zone. So that is an advantage. I would guess that Poynette is debating if they should do a raise take right now. Then they would be sitting potentially 3.
Okay, Morgan Jones, their third with her second throw.
Sometimes it's about, do you want to set up shots for later? And they did that with this front yellow. They definitely have a raise there. And that's what they are calling. The line went wide, so this should be interesting.
And it is heavy.
Yep, she came with
so anything can happen.
A lot of weight.
Yeah.
That's actually okay for them because that roll they just received off of their shooter covered the port to that. So when you have the hammer, you want to keep your control zone open or in your possession. So Poynette 2 is doing a great job of putting theirs in the control zone.
Well, now with the skips involved, with the last 4 stones, and the board is gone.
It looks like we're going to try a tap back up for East. I don't think they can get the angle take, which would be hitting that front yellow with her that her broom is closest to into the red at an angle into the yellow in the 4-foot. It doesn't look lined up to me, but I think they're going to try just the tap back, which would be pushing that yellow up front into the red into the button.
Okay, so when you look at that now, they do have some options there. They had, but the whole idea is to get that red stone inside the yellow because they're lying 1, and so somehow it has to be involved.
Yep, that red stone is going to have to move, or they're going to have to peel a guard.
Okay.
The hardest part about this shot is going to be coming with a light enough weight that it doesn't shoot their red out, but it does move it far enough in.
Okay, raises it in. Okay.
And we will see how she does it.
Brooke Krajewski.
And
the release.
It looks a little wide to me right now. It's outside of that black line. And we haven't seen it hang right now, but I think they're hoping
heavy.
to peel and they're going to blaze
Yeah, it's
through.
just going to move through.
We've been
heavy.
seeing that a lot on these inside sheets this weekend.
Okay.
Once it gets out of those black lines at that weight, it will be reluctant to curl back in.
Okay.
I don't know if they noticed that. It's hard to read the ice. It changes. It's not super normal for sheet 7. Normally it will hang more on the edges on the wall side, but this is home ice, so maybe they should be able to know that. I don't know.
Well, right now we are tied at 3, and we're in the 5th of 8 ends, so we're in the middle of things right now. And we're tied at 3, so this end right now, Poynette 2 looks to pick up 1 or 2.
Yep, right now Poynette's only sitting 1, but if they get that red out, it could be a very big end for them. It looks like they are trying to do the raise take. So they would like to hit their yellow into East's red and take that out. I think is the call.
Okay.
That's what I would do, because they have 3rd count and then it would take that front yellow and jam it into second. They're trying to eliminate Wausau East play.
Kristen Doherty, skip.
And they're sweeping really hard. They're trying to keep it out as long as they can.
Yeah, Kristen's encouraging them.
And
It's going
she is going to make the shot. I think she probably would have liked her shooter to come in more, but she didn't quite have the weight for that. But that was a big shot for Poynette too. They are now sitting 3 on Wausau East with the hammer.
So for Brooke now, Grafsky the skip for East, to salvage something out of here.
Yep.
That she has to do something.
She either has to draw. If I were her, I would probably just try and draw white. I don't think she can hit anything. It's pretty buried, and it looks like she's going to do that.
Okay.
Right now, she's just trying to salvage an end and stop them from sitting a big one on them.
So drawing white simply puts it in the white ring.
If she draws to the 8 foot right now, it will reduce Poynette down to just 1.
1.
But this is not the hammer shot, so then if they were to take that out, they could sit potentially 4.
You can see the placement of the broom to know what Allie's talking about right now. It's instead of getting in this cluster,
she just is trying to reduce. Sometimes that's all you can do. You just have to move on from a bad end like that. You could see her talking with her sweepers, telling them that it needs to be full white or even biting white. It just has to bite the 8 foot. And
this could be a difference between 3 and 1.
or 4 probably.
Even 4, yeah.
They're sweeping pretty hard. I think it looks like it's there to me right now. Maybe hot. Okay, so she came narrow, so this is probably going to set Poynette up to sit 5.
Oh my gosh.
Right now. As you see, she just pushed that front yellow guard into the house. That outcount her 4th count. That red on the edge of the 12 is now sitting 5th count. Not much is going to happen. Poynette right now is going to do the same thing. They are going to want to just draw to more of the 12 foot and sit 5. This could be a game changer. Regardless, they're going to get probably 4 unless they take one of their own out.
Yeah, and which I've seen happen.
Yep, that can happen.
I mean, it can happen, but, you know, for Kristen Doherty now to skip for Poynette, you know, she knows what she has to do. And it looks like she's doing exactly that off the release.
And it looks like maybe she slid out a little hot and gave it a slight pull on her release. They're sweeping pretty hard. She pulled up on that release, and I do not think it's going to get there. We watched her release it, and when she did it, she thought she was coming too heavy, so she did a pull up, and that's a really common thing.
So they end up with 4.
Yep, so East got lucky there. I mean, not lucky, but at least it wasn't 5.
Well, they're down 4, and they've got 3 ends to go. You always think in terms of 1 or 2 typically, right?
Yep.
So the possibility is there.
It is very much so there. I know this morning we went down 3-zip in the first end, and we weren't that worried. Since they are in the second half of this game, that was a bigger end for them. They now need to put a lot of stones in play, keep them in, and they're probably going to play to the wings because they're going to try and sit a big end.
Well, obviously, Poynette 2 has the hammer. This hole.
Nope, East has the hammer.
Yeah, this end. So then, because they scored, East has the hammer on the next one. Let's see if they can counter with a 3 or 4.
So hopefully they capitalize on having that last shot advantage. It can be great to have the hammer or not. It depends on the team. The first shot usually will set up the strategy of the end, depending on if someone puts a guard on the center line, on the wings, or throws through. And it looks like this is going to be a guard on the center line.
Okay, this is Rosalind Plenty, their first, or lead.
And it looks like they tried to sweep it in last minute and fell a little short. And East is going to call the draw behind.
East lead is Catherine O'Keefe. She was second in earlier competition on the team. Moved to lead as Bella Greaser came in.
And that can be a hard transition too. A lot of times when you're playing lead, you're going to throw either some front house draws or you're going to throw guards, and seconds primarily throw takeouts, so that can be a hard adjustment to make. And it looks like her weight is fine, but she did come a little wide, so it's not going to tuck itself behind the guard as they would have liked. It's wide open for the take.
Yeah, it's totally open.
And Poynette 2 is going to call it.
Rosalind Plenty.
And she has her broom right on the edge of the control zone line. Oh, and there's a slip up, but she might still, nope, she pushed it wide. Sometimes they can recover when they fall. I don't think she'll get a chip. Nope.
No. You could tell when she slipped. If anything, it was going to go too much weight.
Yep.
It's because she's pushed off, you know, not in the normal way, not in the nice flow.
And that can just be hard. I know literally everyone on the ice has fallen at least once in a delivery, and in the moment you're just trying to get a shot out. It wasn't awful, but she did push it wide when she fell over, and they couldn't recover it.
Okay.
It looks like Wausau East is laughing and having fun at least sometimes.
Yeah, this is Catherine O'Keefe. Yeah, they are enjoying. Well, they know this is the, you know, they, like you earlier, this is it for the season. This is the state championship, the end of the season. They're going to be doing a lot more curling, right? Yet.
We have ice time a little bit, you know, just for fun.
Sure.
After the season, but this is the last of the competition. It's what you work towards all year.
Yep.
And I don't know, it's just so much fun. Everyone looks forward to state. Everyone who doesn't play in it wants to play in it. Everyone freshman year just waits for their time to get to play at state.
Well, you look at this setting here, the Wausau Curling Club, Allie. This is the epitome for high schools all over the country to have a facility like this in a situation.
It's really the epitome of any curler in the country. We're so lucky to have this club with this many sheets and such nice ice. We have great ice committee, and we have really nice ice and facilities, and we get a lot of practice time because we have so many sheets.
And I know your coach is very involved here, a lot.
Yes, our whole coaching staff is very involved in the club, as is a lot of the Wausau team's coaches. We have one of our coaches is the head of the ice committee. Tom just is curling all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Judy's very involved in the club. We have a lot of great support. I think my favorite thing is that all of the Wausau coaches will support us. Like, we're definitely rooting for each other.
Yeah, and I noticed that.
Yep, they've done a great job of making it a great high school environment and a little community. Even though we're going up against each other sometimes, the East and West games are always our favorite because they're just fun.
Well, back on the sheet here. Things are moving along.
And looks like East was calling a draw, and it cut and moved that guard. That's not the end of the world for them, because now they have one on the center line for a potential raise. Poynette is calling the take, and it's coming out, and they're going to try and blaze it past this front guard. And they are going to get it. That is a great shot.
Yeah, perfect. I mean,
for Poynette.
yeah.
Still up front and completely open, but that was a good sneak around that guard.
So now we move on to the last shot for Bella.
Right now, East is probably trying to figure out how they can get some more stones in the house. It's really, they did a good job setting it up. When you're trying to set yourself up for a position to take a big end, you need to make sure that your stones are staying in play. So they do have 2 up front for easy tap backs if they need to later. They're great setup shots. And they're sweeping hard right now in hopes of a tap, and I don't think they'll get much of one. A little bit.
Doesn't change the
Nope.
what's out there though.
I'm a little surprised that they didn't try and call a straight take on that yellow sitting at the top of the 12 just to get it out of play. But having played East, they are more reluctant to call takeouts than they are draws. They're very much so a comfortable draw team, and they're pretty good at it.
Okay, we go to the thirds now. First for Poynette, Morgan Jones. You can see the score in the background, 7-3 after 5 ends.
And it looks like Poynette 2 is trying to raise right now, and it went pretty far out on the edge, but it did swing back in. So they're sweeping right now to try and get second count. And let's see, I think they got it.
Yeah, they did.
That was a good play. East has got to get something behind. That was great for Poynette too, because not only did their front guard roll in, but their shooter rolled into the middle, preventing the raise for East.
Mackenzie Ocon.
And it looks like East is trying to draw behind right now.
Yeah, Brooke gave her instructions. This is not what you want if you have the hammers to have all those rocks out there, stones.
No, it most definitely isn't. You want a clear, open control zone if you don't have anything in the button or forefoot.
Nothing to guard, right?
Yeah, there's nothing to guard, and it looks like that one's just gonna fall up in line.
Yep.
Maybe push them.
No, not enough.
Nothing
Not
changed.
enough.
At that point, they probably should have swept it to try and get the raise. I always say curling is definitely about those plan B shots. And I'm not sure they were looking for the plan B. This makes having the hammer quite difficult because they're going to have to draw quite far out onto the edges, and they haven't been playing that ice much, so I'm not sure they know the read.
Curling, like so many, is coulda, shoulda, wouldas.
Yeah.
Second guessing is part of the game.
The 2020 hindsight is always the better shot, but
It's just natural.
and it's crazy how different it looks sitting behind the glass than it does standing in the house. I definitely have been there, done that, and made some funny shot calls. And people are like, what were you thinking? And that was good for Poynette too, as they shot themselves to sit 3.
Now they're sitting 3.
That was good for them. It tucked that one that was out on the edge of the control zone in behind, what, 4 guards that aren't lined up. Sometimes,
you know what, Allie? We're looking at handshake pretty close. If they don't do something pretty soon, being East,
I think
they're going to have to
I don't think
counter here.
they'll shake. I think they're in the 6th end. I think they'll play another end.
Well, I'm hoping they will.
And that's going to be a little heavy and go through.
Oh, no.
So
Okay.
I would, if I had to predict, I would say they'll probably call a timeout, catch a breather. Sometimes just standing still and not curling for like a minute can really change the morale around. But they do have a wide open side now that on the left.
Yeah, there are opportunities there.
Yep, so we'll just have to see if Brooke from East has it mentally to just calm herself down and make the draw. But Poynette 2 is going to try and do it first.
Poynette's skip is Kristen Doherty. And she's getting set here. Right now they're lying 3. They're up 7-3. In the 6th end.
Yep, you can see them smiling. I think they're feeling pretty good about how they're playing right now, especially after what looks like it was maybe a tough weekend. It's never easy coming into a state tournament as a JV team. And it looks like they have crossed the line of delivery right now. She threw that too light for where their broom was. They were expecting a little bit more weight out of her, and it crossed. So they're gonna get up and just plop it as another guard. This is very much so a guard game right now, or what we call clutter.
Yeah.
There's a time and a place for clutter.
And there is clutter.
And if I was East right now, it is not a good time. Brooke's gonna try and do the same thing. They're gonna have to be careful with that line. It looks like they're giving line in the middle of the 8-foot right now. And with how this ice has been curling, I would give it maybe an inch or 2 out more towards the 12-foot. And they just moved it closer to the button. So if she goes narrow, they did not give enough ice. They need to worry about clinking on their guard.
There are some opportunities here for Brooke. You know, when you look at the at the house and the situation.
There's plenty of options. There maybe it would not be her first choice, but there's definitely plenty of options. And
well, she's going to go for their plan the way it looks.
And she's got to worry about, it looks kind of hot to me.
Yeah. Yes.
But it is slowing down. This could be the shot that East was looking for. And it looks like it's going to stop. They're going to try and finish it hard and try and bury it. And they did a pretty good job of that.
Okay, so now they are laying 1.
Yes, so she did release that wide, which is why it is not as buried behind the center. The ideal thing would be is to get as close to the center line as she could there, because from the other end, you can still see enough of that stone to take it out if you have to.
Now, if Kristen Doherty, the skip for Poynette, does what she wants to do, this is a foursome, a 4-pointer.
Yep. But East still has the hammer, so this could be a big shot. And
it puts the pressure on Kristen.
Yep. Although not too much pressure. She's in a good spot right now. She could let one go and still be in good position to win. That does look a little narrow, and she is going to wreck on her front guard, it looks like.
Yep.
You can see the sweepers disappointed in that. They would have liked to held that with their sweeping. They looked like they were going pretty hard.
So we talked about the possibility of 3 or 4 before for Poynette. Now we're talking about
2 East.
2 East stones if they do it right.
Yep, so right now, as long as they don't take out their own stone, they're gonna get 1 for sure, but they really need the 2 right now.
They have to go for something.
And this is the hammer.
Yeah, they have to go for more.
And you don't, it's, a lot of people would look at it like you need to get the button. They just need to be half white or more white than that yellow on the center line to get closer. So this will be a big shot for East.
Yeah, they would put them back in, you know, in the 6th end. They have 2 to go if they're down 2.
Yep.
They're in it.
She made that draw earlier. She's going to try and do the same exact thing right now. That can be easier said than done, throwing the same thing 2 times in a row. And I don't see them sweeping on it right now. They're just letting it come. And they should probably get on that. And they did not start sweeping soon enough, so they did not quite capitalize on that hammer.
Yeah, see, okay.
I would say they're definitely still in it right now. 3 is, in the grand scheme of curling, it's not behind by that many. But they do need to do a better job at getting some of those stones in the house if they want to set themselves up to win.
So now they're down 3, 7-4, Poynette 2-7. Wausau East 4 as we head to the 7th end. Getting close to the finish.
Yep, I think they would have really liked to take 2 on that end. Sometimes it's better to keep the hammer and let them score 1 in order to try and set up a big end, which they did not do. But that's, if you ever see a team blank an end, they're trying to keep the hammer. Sometimes it's better to have the hammer than to score 1. But in this case, I think they need every point they can get.
Well, the hammer does go over to Poynette, advantage Poynette now, up by 3 with 2 ends to go, and the hammer an 8 in number 7.
Yep, and they can definitely do this. I'd say ideal for them right now, if they stole 2, they'd be down 1 going into the 8th. They still wouldn't have the hammer, but you can definitely put yourself in striking range right there. And it looks like East is calling a guard.
This is Catherine O'Keefe. The lead for East team. They're coming into this contest with a win and a loss. They can pull out a win here in the end. They will walk away with a 2-1 record in their bracket.
Yep, that's still a great feeling to have at state. So hopefully, either way, it's going to be a happy win for either of these teams. Poynette 2 really is going to want to leave this thing with winning at least 1.
Yep.
And East is just going to want to have the best record they can.
I'm just going to ask you this question. How are these teams determined in terms of their brackets? And
so we are set up on a seeding into our pools throughout your record through the season and with how well you do at the TG Bonspiel earlier in the season.
Okay, so the TG Bonspiel does have a role.
Yes, it does have a role. So that's why it's so important that you show up, you show strength, you curl well. But otherwise, it's just your record throughout the season. East is in a region where they're going to play DC Everest, Wausau West, Mosinee, Marshfield, Medford, Spash, you know, kind of like the conferences we have for basketball. And then there's a more southern region, you know, with like Poynette, Portage, Kettle.
Lodi.
Yep. So those are the main ones down there. So, and then the pools are set up. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4 are each in a different pool, and then 5 goes into 1, and then vice versa. So
good explanation.
Yep.
You know, now this sport, curling, is not affiliated with WIAA, is it?
It is not associated with WIAA for very specific reasons. Curling has this thing called junior nationals or state playdowns in hopes of going to nationals. And in order for any high school curler, which a lot of these high-end teams are going to have curlers on teams that play those, in order to do that, they cannot be a WIAA athlete during that season because you can only do WIAA in that situation.
Okay, good explanation on that too, because you know, this is not WIAA affiliated. You know, it's got its own governing body.
Own thing, yeah,
it's got its own thing, and the WIAA is very strict about outside competition during their seasons, individual seasons.
So they do that on purpose. You'll notice some jackets around town, or around here, I guess, that will say like Team Wisconsin or have little badges of the state of Wisconsin. That means that we're representing our state at national competitions. And in order to qualify, you cannot be a WIAA athlete.
Okay. Well, we're going to keep on going here with the 7th end.
And it looks like East is just trying to draw around. That looks a little hot to me from here. but it might slow down.
This is
It's a little
Bella
wide.
Greiser, the second for East.
And it looks like the stone is just breaking now. I'm not sure it will be enough. Too much. Nope.
Nope.
They won't get the chip.
Nope.
Sometimes that's the hardest part, is watching when the stone is going to break or curl. We call it breaking. You'll watch it go in a straight line, and then once it starts to break, it will continue. So there's nothing you can do once it's going.
Okay. This is the second for Poynette, Abby Gray. Those two girls are working hard, making sure their feet don't touch the stones, any stones, anywhere.
Yep, you cannot make any contact with the stone besides the thrower, and they must release it before that big black line we see. It's called the hog line. If it's touched in any capacity, it is called a burned stone, and then it must be removed from play.
Sometimes you wonder where they came up with those terms.
I have no clue.
Every sport has them.
Yeah. I know at the old club they used to have like pigs like on the ice, like by it. I don't know.
Well, it's an old Scottish creation, I think. And
It is. If you
back.
saw the DC Everest boys, you would have saw them in their kilts this year.
Yeah.
They are all wearing matching kilts. That was an interesting learning curve. They had to keep their knees closed while throwing. And she is going to peel that guard up front. That's not the end of the world for Wausau East. It leaves that yellow stone in the forefoot wide open. And it looks like Poynette is going to try and replace their guard.
It's Abby Gray. The yellow stones belong to Poynette, too. And they have the lead here in the seventh end, 7-4.
And it looks like she shot her guard a little wide and heavy. So that's going to draw in and might chip off of their own. That ended up working for them. But East still has options here. Poynette just took the first and second count, but there's definitely a double take there. This double take is going to be different than the other traditional ones because you kind of have to crotch the stones and hit them in the middle. I think they are just calling for the single, but ideally you would be able to hit the middle and split both out, but it's going to have to come with a lot of momentum. And they're going to sweep it super hard because she shot narrow. And they're off on their line of delivery, so they are going to just peel that guard.
Well,
at least it missed the jam in the back. That could have been bad.
Yeah. Well, things are open.
Things are very open. You see the Poynette 2 skip making a big circular motion in front of her two stones, saying that she wants the guard in the middle. She wants to eliminate that option of the double. She also is not going to want it too deep into the house or close to the house because that allows for a double.
Well, let's see how Morgan does here. Morgan Jones. And again, the sweepers are very busy.
They're going hard. A lot of the times when you see someone on the back end get called for a guard, they're going to be reluctant to throw heavier than they have to, and they did get that one over, so that was a good sweep. She did not want to throw her own stone out.
My question, this is their third game in 2 days. They've been sweeping and sweeping and sweeping.
They are sore.
Okay, that was the question. Are they tired and sore?
They are tired and sore. I know for a fact you can't leave a Bonspiel weekend without having your arms kill and your legs hurt and your shoulders and you're tight and you're tired. And curling is just such a mental game. You have to really be able to focus and keep your head in it. And it's tiring. You have to be thinking the whole time. And it looks like Wausau East is going to hit one of them. They did not take the lead count-wise right now, but they are sitting in a good position with second and third count. And it looks like Poynette 2 is going to call the freeze on it. So they would like to come down and hit that.
Poynette with the hammer.
They did not call that take right there for fear that it will jam, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. They're going to try and take with this bomb, I think. And they're having some debate.
This is heavy.
Do I sweep, do I not? I think they need to let it curl. Well, that was a lucky shot on that edge. She didn't stick her shooter, but she did take out the second count. That was a nice shot.
So with 2 stones each, Poynette has, they're lying 1.
Yep.
But it's open.
There are some guards up front, but overall, the whole right side of the house is pretty open right now. East is gonna debate whether they should try and sneak in. The play for an aggressive end right now would be to try and take that yellow out on the outside edge, but that's difficult. I'm not sure they could get there.
So Mackenzie and Brooke talking it over.
And I think they're going to call a draw. If I had to guess, they didn't show where they were going to put the broom exactly, but with where they have their broom for ice, I would guess they're going to try and draw into the middle.
Brooke is their skip. This is her first throw. And right now, we are looking at an empty rink.
Yep, all of the
other
games ended pretty quickly. I would say if this end doesn't go in East's favor, we might see a shake. But just because neither of them have a shot at the semifinals. I think, I was just looking over at other sheets, I think Everest boys may have snuck their way in. I'm not positive on that, but that would be exciting.
Yeah, we'd love to have them in the finals.
We would love to have them in all the way. Last year we watched our boys take second at state, and it was so fun. And it was a great game. It was a little heartbreaking, but we were so proud of them. And that whole team actually graduated. So our boys varsity right now has 4 seniors and a sophomore skip. So they've been rotating, so they want it bad.
So all 4 are new this year on the team?
All new to varsity. They've been curling since their freshman year or sophomore year.
Okay.
But there's definitely a big change from playing junior varsity games to varsity. As soon as you get up with the big swingers, you're playing people that have been curling since they were tiny, or curling at junior nationals, or going to curling camps. Some people that are really good. The strategy's harder, and people play more aggressively.
Okay.
And
this is Morgan Jones.
Now,
talking to
Poynette does have the hammer, so they might be trying to draw in for 2 right now. They would need to be probably biting white.
Kristen Doherty.
But their biggest thing here is they're going to want to sneak behind those guards if they can, because they want to eliminate the take and roll. And the sweepers are getting on it very fast. They should probably get up, though. They need to let that curl. I think it has enough weight to at least guard, which would be the strong plan B here. And they did get the guard. So that
they took care of that right side, didn't they?
Yep, they plugged it up. Some people might say that that was a setup shot. They can very easily tap that back later on. but they do have the hammer, so I bet they wanted that draw.
So now, Mackenzie Okan and Brooke Grafsky talk it over. Brooke is going to be her last throw here coming up, and they're down by 3.
Yep, so they are trying to find any way that they can score. They do have second count right now,
Yeah.
but there are quite a few guards. They might be able to do some angled tap backs on either side, really. It's going to be a tough shot, but it's definitely there. I think they're just worried about how they're lined up.
Yeah, you can see them lining, you know, you can see Mackenzie using her broom to kind of just demonstrate, you know,
How
her
they
thoughts.
want to curl.
Yeah.
Yep. This can be one of the hardest parts. 2 opinions in the house. Usually you're on the same page, you know.
Sure.
You're with your teammate. You're usually calling the same strategy, but you can definitely see it from different ways, whether to throw it inside out, outside in, or what to do. They've moved on to the other side of the house now. They're checking out all of their options, which is really good. Sometimes you'll get people to rush into it, but they're taking a look. Now, I'm not sure if they're trying to draw through that wide, the narrow-ish port on the side wing, or if they're trying to raise in.
Looks to me like more of a raise.
I think you're right.
Option.
There's 2 stones to hit there, but I think either way, she's going to have to come with enough weight to keep it moving on that outside edge. They haven't been playing their edges very much, so that means the pebble is going to be fresher and the ice will be slower out there.
See what happens. They have to have enough weight to make things happen here. That's number 1.
And it looks like she
Well, they need a little curl.
shot a little narrow for what they were going for, but she might get a roll here.
Nope,
And
not going to happen.
yep, that's not going to do much for her. So right now, East needs to hope that Poynette doesn't capitalize on this hammer shot. Right now, Poynette's looking to draw to the far wing just to get more red or biting white. Anything closer than that back red one will sit them with 2.
So, with a 3-stone lead, 3-point lead, Poynette up 7-4. They have 1 lie point. If they put any more than that, it's just a tough one.
Either way,
East.
Poynette 2 is sitting in a really good position to pull this game out.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
hard, very hard in the 8 end, especially the way this game has been going. They haven't been sitting super huge ends besides that 5th end for Poynette 2. To lay 4 and tie it or lay 5 to win would be quite the feat. And it looks like Mackenzie from East is going to try and sweep as hard as she can. And I think she did it.
Yeah, so they got 1.
Yep.
So now the decision time.
So you'll see them chatting out by the bench right now. They're talking. Ultimately, it is the third's decision on whether to shake or not. They might curl it just to have 1 last end as a team.
As an experience.
Yep. And it looks like East is walking down to the house to get ready to call. So they are going to throw this 8th end.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Well, my question is, this is the end of the season. This is their last game. Why not?
Yep, exactly.
Why,
We're not.
Mathematically, they're not out of it. I mean,
Nope.
sometimes that happens, and then the decision is very easy. But
Now,
not here yet. Not
It
yet.
will be interesting to see how Poynette 2 plays this end. There's a couple strategies that you can do when you're up by this much in the 8th end. It looks like they're going to draw in and try and just play it like a normal game. But you would see a lot of experienced teams throw through. And the idea of this is they would wait for East to put one in the house, and then they would take it out. And then they're going to try
Take
and
out,
run
take
them
out,
out of
take out.
rocks.
Yeah.
They
And that can
didn't-
happen in the end itself. They can shake because
Yep,
mathematically
as soon
it's
as you're
over.
mathematically out, the proper etiquette is to shake. So you'll see them do that. But East is going to try and draw around this right now.
Okay.
I don't know. My personal motto is when the score is up, the guards are not. So I'm a little interested that Poynette to put that guard up there. If you have a guard there, it's something to hide behind. So, which they don't want. But it looks like East is going to fall short and throw another guard.
Yeah, that didn't help their cause, really.
Nope, that came and basically sat right up on that first yellow guard. I think they would have liked more separation or not touching. That way they could have done something with it.
Yeah, the way it sits there now, it's almost like it's in the back end in terms of possible scoring stone.
Yep, they're still mathematically in right now. But you'll see them start to count stones. Right now, Poynette 2 needs to just run them out of rocks, basically. And they're doing a good job right now. They're plugging the control zone, which is how you get to the 4 foot. So for not throwing through, they're doing good strategy.
Okay, second shot coming up for Catherine O'Keefe.
Yep, you'll see East has moved their broom out more to account for that guard that split on the other side of the center line. And it looks like they're sweeping, so it must be light. It doesn't look that light to me, but they're sweeping pretty hard. They're sweeping for line. She came a little narrow, and it's going to cut on that side, and it's just going to come right up to that guard. So even though those 2 red stones are in play, there's yellow stones behind them. So
Yeah, it's not looking good for East right now.
nope, it's really a team effort. It all starts with the lead. The lead needs to make their shots, otherwise you can't set up a strategy.
Okay, now we go to Poynette's second.
And it looks like they are going to raise. Initially, I thought maybe she was going to throw through, but they're going to try and get something on. And they'll come short.
Yep.
But it was a good raise effort. And if you look at how they have it set up, they will likely try and do the same thing on the other guard combo up there because theirs is closest to the house. And East is still trying that draw behind. They're giving more ice every time. By now, it looks like East's broom is about 4 inches off of the 12 foot, which is probably right where I would call it to get to the button.
Bella Greaser with the release coming up off the hack. Now some of the curlers use, like she is, a little brace on the other arm, hand.
Yep, so
Is that an
is
option?
called a stabilizer.
Okay.
You'll see some professionals do it. You'll see some people throw with a broom. It's pretty much however you were taught.
Okay.
I know I throw with a stabilizer in competition, but I can throw with a broom. But I just was taught with a stabilizer, and I feel like I make more of my tougher shots with it. But so usually you are just taught, and then you can change. But it's just opinion or like matter of preference.
Sure.
And East is on, and Poynette 2 is going to try and take it out.
And every stone that Poynette takes out now, like
Is
they're
one
trying
less
to
stone.
do.
And they are going to blaze that takeout.
Yep.
It doesn't matter right now,
No. Nope.
but I think they would have just liked to have one more out of play. When you're running a team out of rocks, the worst feeling in the world is when you let them suddenly almost sit on you. And you'll see it happen more than any of us would like to admit. Sometimes you can let up your guard and it just goes bad.
Here's the...
She's trying the draw again. Her line looks way better. And as long as she has the weight, and you see them sweeping, and I don't think they got on that soon enough. As soon as they saw that the line was good, I don't think they were necessarily looking for the weight call. And that is just as important.
Now, let's look at this. We have...
4 stones up front for Wausau East.
Yeah, and 1 point, or 1 lying. They've got 3 left. They're down by 4.
Yes, they, in theory, are still very mathematically still in this game. I'm not sure they have set up the correct strategy to accomplish the win. And it looks like Poynette 2 through the take again. I would be sweeping if I were them. Maybe they were drawing. Looks like they're going to draw and land a little bit T+. They're going to sweep it in, set it in the 4-foot. Now, this is not the end of the world for Wausau East right now. This is, I would call, a heavyweight draw on this. They're going to want to stick on it. She called the freeze. You probably need the take because they need to sit a lot right now. But it's backing, which can do a lot for you. It can give your thrower a lot more confidence, too, if they know that it's okay to be heavy.
This is Mackenzie Ocon.
Her line looks pretty decent for this shot. They need to be sweeping it all the way in, though. Hard. They need to stay on it. And
Curl a little bit
she's
too
going to
much.
tick.
Yeah.
Sometimes even just getting off for 1 second while it's breaking can really affect how it happens. So when they jumped off of it, it broke too much. And I think Poynette 2 is calling a plug right now. They're trying to guard it up. So right now, Wausau East has 2 stones out of play, I believe.
They just wanted to get across the line.
And they are sweeping hard out there. No one ever wants to hog a stone. I know our team, we always do push-ups on the boards if we don't. And she did not hog it, but it is high.
Yeah.
Sometimes a really high guard like that can be just as effective as a loose one because it takes a lot to move those.
Well, we're getting down to the end here for East. They're down by 4. They're on their last rocks coming up.
And really, in the grand scheme of things, losing by 4 is not that bad for curling. Yeah, I've seen a lot worse scores, especially when you get to state. You tend to see more of a skewed scoring. You'll see a lot of blowouts.
Yeah, but this one, it takes 1 in. In this case, N number 5, they lost 4 points.
Yep, and
just, that's the difference. The rest of the ends, the
have
other
been very
6,
close.
were all even.
Yep.
So it just takes that 1.
And it really can just change in the blink of an eye. 1 shot can make the difference with curling. And it gets tough mentally then. If someone lays a big end on you, you feel bad about it. And the teams that will come back and fight back are the teams that are able to just let it go. Take 1 end at a time. And now it looks like Wausau East has 2 lane, but they don't have count. And that shot rock is pretty guarded up. You can't even see the front guard in some of these shots. It's so hard.
So right now, they'd almost have to take out that back stone.
Yep, and in order to get to it, I think they would have to peel that front guard that Poynette 2 just threw, and they do not have that many shots left.
No, no, they don't. Okay, this is Kristen Doherty, the skip.
And they're sweeping it out on that outside edge, so it must be light enough that they think it's going to curl back in. And that's light, but it's going to be a good guard for them.
Basically what they wanted to do, right? Because it narrows the possibility for East. I mean,
yep, I think they would have liked it more out on probably the center of that black line, but regardless, it's pretty good because it's going to cut off that control zone for Wausau East.
Silly question for you, Allie. East is in the situation right now. They need 4. They're lying what, 1?
Yes.
Should they
nope,
just...
they are not lying.
Oh no,
anything.
They're not at all. None. Just let it go. Send it down and...
You know, sometimes we do call those, I know the Everest team jokes, we call them BSUs, blow stuff up, just like hit stuff, you know, something's
well,
got to
that was my question.
But right now the issue is there are so many yellow stones behind those front red ones that if they were to do it, they'd probably just push the yellow ones in. But yes, there are definitely times where the only call is to just hit something really hard down the middle.
Yeah,
and
go
it's just
from there
hit anything.
and just get really, really lucky.
Usually that's done around the 3rd shots, but I'm not sure it's going to work for them now.
No.
And right now they're probably close to being out of this. They don't have a way to get to the middle and take that stone out. They may end up having 4 in the house at the end of this, but if you don't have count, it does not matter.
Well, that one on the back end here.
Yep, it's so buried, and they needed to peel that guard in order to do something.
Well, they're going to continue on the way it looks.
They're going to keep, nope. And it looks like the Wausau skip just put her hand out for the shake.
That's what, I couldn't see, you know, where from here, where she was going, but yeah. So, it is Poynette 2.
And now their final score will be 8-4 because they shook in the middle of that end. Sometimes when you know you're going to lose a bad one and you're already losing, you'll shake before the end of it so that you don't have quite as rough of a score.
Your excuse doesn't have to be as big.
Yep, it doesn't have to be.
Okay, Poynette now with a win, end up in the tournament here in the state championship with a 1 win and 2 defeats. East with the same results, 1 win and 2 losses. For Wausau East, the team of Catherine O'Keefe, Bella Greaser, Mackenzie Oken, and Brooke Grafsky, the skip. The final, Poynette 4, Wausau 8, Wausau 4 for Allie Cotton. I'm George Hirsch. Hope you enjoyed our broadcast of the state curling prep high school. one word prep. Championships up from the Wausau Curling Club. Until we get together again, take care.